you have said in a previous interview that fiction gets to the truths of human nature, gets to them better than nonfiction. What are some fiction books that you think every young person should read?
Well, I don't know if I would say young person, but I remember a few years ago, Facebook was asking everyone who wanted to join in this, or maybe it was one of my Facebook friends, nominate your 5 favorite nonfiction books and your 5 favorite fiction books. So I'll go with some of my favorites. I think the greatest American novel of my lifetime is Continental Drift by Russell Banks, which is an amazing epic about the collision of lives between a blue-collar plumber who leaves New Hampshire because he feels like his life is going nowhere and goes to South Florida thinking that's where he'll make a new start, and a woman who leaves Haiti with her nephew because they've run afoul of the Duvalier dictatorship and have to come to Florida, on a smuggler's boat, and the way those two lives collide. And it's just an extraordinary work of writing, but also of moral conception. So that is absolutely high up on my list. I love the South African novelist Andre Brink, who was an Afrikaner who really broke in an incredibly courageous way with his tribe of Afrikaners to become a dissident writer whose work was often banned. And there are 2 books of his that I kind of rate almost equally that I'll mention. One is called A Dry White Season, which was actually made into quite a good film with Donald Sutherland in it. And it's about an Afrikaner school teacher who he's just going along to get along. He thinks society is going pretty well under apartheid. And then the janitor, the black man who's a janitor at his school, his son vanishes into detention during a state of emergency and is killed. And it's what happens when the white teacher gets drawn into investigating the disappearance and sees what his society is all about. So that, and there's another one also much more purely psychological, less sort of plotted book than A Dry White Season called Rumors of Rain, but also is very much about how an unequal system, whether it's apartheid in South Africa or Jim Crow in the U.S., it destroys the people who think they're benefiting from it too. It morally makes them monstrous. And that's another favorite of mine. The novelist Jessamine Ward, her book Sing Unburied Sing, which is very much about race and incarceration and the legacy of both in the Deep South. That's a wonderful work of fiction. So those are some of the ones that I had on the list. I also...
What about the nonfiction ones?
Well, I just had one other fiction writer. I love the novelist Alice McDermott, also just a really beautiful stylist and someone who writes very, very meaningfully about mostly Irish Catholic mid-20th century life in the U.S., and is really attuned to the emotional lives of her characters. And then the other one, and then I'll go to nonfiction, Oscar Uelos has a bunch of fantastic novels. The one a lot of people probably would know is The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love. But my favorite of his, and I think it's the best novel about religion I've ever read, is called Mr. Ives' Christmas. And he basically takes a version of the Job story out of the Hebrew Bible and turns it into the life of a middle-class Cuban-American couple in New York in the early 60s whose son is killed in a meaningless drive-by shooting. And it's about what unmerited suffering means and the test of faith that it puts people through.